My friends, every so often a story emerges that reminds us not just of the challenges we face as people, but of the unshakable strength that lives within us. There was a young boy, quiet, reserved, a child who walked the hallways of his school with his head down, not because he lacked dreams, but because he carried them carefully, knowing they were fragile, knowing they were precious. One day, a bully decided to make him the target. Classroom grew loud with laughter, the kind of laughter that cuts deeper than words. It seemed, in that moment, as if the boy would shrink, fade, and disappear into silence. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of hiding, he stood. Instead of breaking, he revealed the gift he had kept hidden. A voice, a talent, a brilliance that stunned the room into silence. The same classmates who had mocked him sat in awe of him. The very room that once tried to humiliate him became the place where his greatness was revealed. That moment is not just a story about a boy in a classroom. It is a story about us, about the trials we face, about the doubts cast upon us, and about the greatness, about the great surprise that lies within when we dare to rise. Because let's be clear, we all face bullies in life. Sometimes they are people, sometimes they are fears, sometimes they are the whispers of doubt telling us we are not enough. But like that boy, we have a choice, to give in or to rise, to let others define us or to show the world who we truly are. And here's the truth: greatness is not reserved for the few. It is found in ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things. A mother working 2 jobs to give her children a better life. A neighbor who plants a tree not for herself, but for the next generation. A quiet boy who, when challenged, so brightly that no one can look away. This is the heart of who we are. Perseverance, courage, belief in something better. So, tonight I say this: let us carry that spirit forward. Let us see in one another not weakness, but potential. Let us build communities where no one is mocked for being different, but uplifted for being themselves. Let us stand together, stronger, braver, united. Because the future belongs to those who refuse to hide their light. And when the world tries to humiliate you, doubt you, or push you aside, remember this: you are not defined by their laughter. You are defined by your courage, by your strength, by your refusal to stay silent when your moment comes. So rise, believe, and shine. Because when you do, you will not only change your life, you will help change the world. In every community, in every classroom, in every workplace, there are those who move quietly through the world. They are not the loudest voices in the room. They are not the ones demanding attention, spotlight, or recognition. They walk with a steady pace, they listen more than they speak, and often they are overlooked. Too many times, society mistakes this quietness for weakness. We assume that if someone isn't raising their hand, raising their voice, or making noise, they have nothing to contribute. But history and life itself prove otherwise. Think for a moment about the boy in that classroom. He was quiet, unassuming, the kind of student many might forget to notice. He did not enter the room looking to make a statement. He did not crave the approval of his peers. Yet, when another student, a bully, chose to humiliate him, when laughter filled the air and the weight of cruelty tried to push him down, it was that quiet boy who rose. And when he rose, he revealed a hidden strength that no one saw coming, had never been a weakness. It was power waiting for the right moment to emerge. This is the misunderstanding we carry too often in life. We equate volume with strength, confidence with noise, leadership with dominance. But the truth is, some of the most powerful individuals in history have been those who carried themselves with humility, with composure, with restraint. Their silence was not emptiness, it was depth. Their quietness was not passivity, it was preparation. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat, she did not raise her voice. She did not shout. She simply stayed where she was. One quiet act of defiance shook an entire nation. When Mahatma Gandhi led millions toward freedom, he did not wage war with weapons. He waged it with silence, discipline, and an unbreakable will. In each of these moments, the world learned that silence is not weakness. It is strength clothed in stillness. But why do we so often mistake it for the opposite? Because we live in a culture that rewards noise. We are trained to applaud the one who speaks the most, who stands at the front, who commands attention with volume. We forget to look for the quiet thinkers, the careful planners, the ones who are watching, absorbing, and waiting for their moment. And yet, Time and again, it is those individuals who surprise us most. Silence, when chosen, is not a lack of ability. It is the presence of discipline. It is the ability to hold back when others rush forward. It is the strength to wait until the time is right. The boy in that classroom understood this. He did not need to answer cruelty with cruelty. He did not need to trade insults with his bully. Instead, he allowed his talent to speak for him. And when he finally revealed it, every mocking voice in that room fell silent. Imagine the courage it takes to be quiet in a world that tells you to shout. Imagine the strength it requires to stand in the face of laughter and still hold your ground. It is far easier to lash out, to argue, to raise your volume so you can be heard. But to stand calm, to let your actions carry the weight of your message, that requires a deeper kind of courage. In our own lives, we will encounter moments when others underestimate us. They will judge us by how loudly we speak, by how forcefully we present ourselves, by how much attention we can command. And in those moments, we may be tempted to believe their judgment. But if the boy in the classroom teaches us anything, it is that silence can be the preparation ground for greatness. That stillness can be the place where power gathers. That the quiet ones are often the ones who will leave the greatest impact when the moment demands it. The truth is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of potential. It is the space where ideas form, where courage gathers, where resilience is born. Those who sit quietly are not empty, they are full. They are full of dreams, of visions, untapped greatness waiting to be revealed when the world least expects it. Every person carries within them a gift. Sometimes it is obvious, easily seen by the world. A singer with a voice that fills stadiums, an athlete with speed that defies gravity, a thinker whose ideas transform nations. But more often, talent lives quietly, hidden beneath layers of doubt, fear, or circumstance. It waits for the right moment to emerge. It is there in the boy who doodles at the back of the classroom, in the girl who whispers poems into the pages of her notebook, in the worker who fixes machinery by instinct, not training. These talents live silently in people, unseen, underestimated, and too often ignored. In that classroom where a quiet boy was humiliated, we witnessed a moment where hidden talent shifted everything. He was not known for his voice, his presence, or his confidence. He was known for being quiet, for keeping to himself, for staying in the background. But beneath that quiet exterior was a skill, a brilliance that had been waiting. The bully thought he saw weakness. What he never saw was the talent that would transform the moment and silence the room. This is the power of hidden talent. It changes the story in an instant. One moment, you are invisible. Next, you are unforgettable. One moment, people are laughing at you. The next, they are looking at you with awe. And yet, this power does not come overnight. Hidden talent is nurtured in silence. It is developed in the hours when no one is watching. It is shaped in the moments of solitude where practice, persistence, and passion combine. History has shown us again and again that hidden talent is not only real, it is often the force that reshapes the future. Albert Einstein was not a child prodigy in the way people imagine. Teachers thought he was slow, that he did not fit in. His brilliance lived quietly, hidden from those who couldn't see beyond the surface. But when his mind was revealed to the world, it rewrote the laws of physics. Maya Angelou lived with trauma and chose silence for years. Few saw what was stirring inside her, yet her voice, when it finally rose, became one of the most powerful instruments of change in American history. And so it is in classrooms, neighborhoods, and workplaces everywhere. Hidden talent is everywhere. The challenge is not whether it exists, is whether we will give it space to grow, whether we will recognize it when it appears, and whether we will believe in it when others do not. The boy in that classroom did not ask to be mocked. He did not invite the ridicule. But when it came, he chose to let his talent answer. And that is the lesson. Talent, when expressed, speaks louder than cruelty, louder than mockery, louder than doubt. The very room that once underestimated him could not deny him once they saw what he was capable of. This is why we must never underestimate people. Behind every quiet exterior, behind every face that blends into the background, a story unfolding, a skill forming, a gift preparing to be revealed. The person you overlook today may be the very person who inspires you tomorrow. The classmate you laugh at may carry the very ability that will one day change lives. Hidden talent also carries a message for each of us that we, too, have something within us that has not yet been seen. Perhaps you've doubted it. Perhaps you've hidden it because of fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. But talent does not disappear because it is hidden. It waits. It waits for courage. It waits for opportunity. It waits for the moment when you finally decide that it is time. The boy who stunned his classmates teaches us that the power of hidden talent is not in how loudly it announces itself, but in how deeply it transforms a moment once revealed. One act of courage, one display of ability, can shift the entire atmosphere around you. It can turn ridicule into respect. It can turn invisibility into recognition. It can turn the quietest student in the room into the most unforgettable. Humiliation is one of the deepest wounds a person can experience. It cuts past the surface and pierces the heart. It is not just about being laughed at, it is about being stripped of dignity in front of others, about feeling small, exposed, powerless. For many, humiliation is the moment that lingers long after the laughter fades. And yet, it is also in these very moments that the human spirit has the chance to rise. Consider the boy in the classroom. The bully targeted him not because of anything he had done, but because he was quiet, different, and easy to single out. The bully thought that by humiliating him, he would break him down, make him invisible, and reinforce his own false sense of power. The classroom erupted in laughter, a painful reminder of how quickly people can turn against the vulnerable. But humiliation is not the end of the story. It can, in fact, be the spark that ignites a transformation. Rising above humiliation does not mean pretending it never happened. It does not mean ignoring the sting of laughter or the weight of shame. Rising above humiliation means refusing to let that moment define who you are. It means choosing to stand in the very space where others tried to bring you down and showing them that your worth, your talent, your humanity cannot be erased by ridicule. The boy had every reason to shrink back. He could have stayed silent, absorbed the pain, and carried it with him as another scar. But, instead, he chose to respond not with anger or vengeance, but with revelation. He showed his hidden gift. He let his talent speak for him. And in doing so, he did something extraordinary. He turned humiliation into triumph. This is the power of resilience. Life will present us with moments of public failure, embarrassment, rejection. Sometimes it will be in a classroom, sometimes in a boardroom, sometimes in the most personal corners of our lives. And each time, we will be tempted to believe that humiliation is proof of our inadequacy. But the truth is this: humiliation is not a reflection of your worth. It is a test of your response. Rising above humiliation requires strength of character. It requires the patience to wait until the noise dies down and the courage to stand when all eyes are on you. It requires the vision to see beyond the present moment of pain into the future moment of transformation. And when that transformation comes, it has the power not only to restore your dignity, but also to inspire those who witnessed your rise. History gives us powerful examples. Nelson Mandela was humiliated and imprisoned for 27 years. Stripped of freedom, mocked by his oppressors, he had every reason to give in to bitterness. But when he walked free, he rose above humiliation and became a symbol of reconciliation and leadership. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election, endured mockery and public failure, yet he rose above those humiliations to lead a fractured nation. These men did not allow their lowest moments to define them. Instead, they allowed those moments to refine them. The boy in that classroom may not have known it, but his decision to rise above humiliation carried the same principle. He did not just defend himself. He taught everyone in that room something vital: that dignity is not given by others and cannot be taken away by laughter. It is something we claim when we decide that humiliation will not have the final word. Each of us has faced or will face moments of humiliation. Some will happen in public, others in private. Some will come from strangers, others from people we trusted. But in all of them lies a choice to let the experience diminish us or to use it as the soil from which new strength can grow. Rising above humiliation does not mean denying the pain. It means transforming it. It means using it as fuel to reveal what is already within us. It means proving that no amount of mockery can erase our ability, our purpose, or our light. And when we rise, the same people who once laughed are often the first to fall silent in awe of the strength they never expected to see. When we hear the word bully, we often think only of pain, fear, and intimidation. A bully is someone who seeks to tear others down, to assert power through cruelty, to make themselves feel strong by making someone else feel small. Yet, if we look deeper, we find something unexpected. The very pressure that bullies apply can become the force that awakens hidden strength. Time and again, those who endure the weight of ridicule discover something within themselves they might never have found otherwise. In this sense, bullies, without intending to, often create breakthroughs. In that classroom, the bully thought he was in control. He believed that by humiliating the quiet boy, he would silence him forever, that his laughter would drown out any response. But what he failed to understand was that cruelty can be a catalyst. Instead of silencing the boy, the attempt to break him became the moment that revealed his strength. His hidden talent was born into the open, not despite the bully's attack, but because of it. This is a paradox we see throughout life. Pressure can either crush us or forge us. Just as coal under immense pressure becomes a diamond, individuals under the weight of bullying or ridicule can discover a resilience and brilliance they never realized they possessed. The bully provides the spark, but it is the victim who chooses whether that spark ignites destruction or transformation. Consider some of history's great innovators, leaders, and visionaries. Many were mocked, dismissed, or ridiculed in their early years. Emerson was told he was too stupid to learn. Oprah Winfrey was publicly criticized and humiliated at the start of her career. Each faced their share of bullies, individuals and institutions that sought to diminish them. But rather than allowing those moments to define them, they turned them into breakthroughs. They used rejection as fuel, mockery as motivation, and cruelty as a stepping stone toward greatness. The breakthrough that bullies create is not simply about proving someone wrong. It is about proving yourself right. It is about discovering a strength you didn't know you had until you were tested. The boy in that classroom may never have shown his talent had he not been pushed into that corner. The attempt to humiliate him forced a decision to remain silent and wounded, or to reveal what had always been inside him. He chose revelation. In that choice, he transformed the moment. It's important to recognize, though, that not every story of bullying results in triumph right away. Many suffer deeply. Many carry wounds that take years to heal. And yet, even in those painful experiences, the seeds of breakthrough are present. Resilience is often born in the shadows of cruelty. Confidence is often forged in the fires of mockery. The very pain bullies inflict can become the foundation for courage, empathy, and unshakable determination. This truth is not meant to glorify bullying, but to reframe its impact. Bullies do not have the power to determine our future. They only create circumstances. It is our response that transforms those circumstances into breakthroughs. The boy who was mocked proved this. The classroom that once laughed became silent witnesses to a moment of personal triumph. That silence was not just respect for his talent, it was recognition that cruelty had failed. When we reflect on our own lives, we may see similar patterns. The teacher who doubted us, the peer who mocked us, the supervisor who dismissed us. These were bullies in different forms. At the time, their words may have stung, their actions may have felt unbearable. But when we rise from those moments, we often realize they played an unintended role. They pushed us to discover how strong we truly are. Bullies, in their arrogance, believe they are breaking us down. What they cannot see is that they are often building us up. They force us to confront the parts of ourselves we might never have tested. They press us into revealing what was hidden. And in the end, their attempts at destruction can become the very soil where breakthroughs grow. There are few sounds more painful than laughter aimed at your expense. It is sharp, it is heavy, and it echoes long after the moment has passed. When a group of people laughs at you, it feels as though the world itself has turned against you. It is isolating. It is cruel. And in that classroom, when the quiet boy became the target of a bully, laughter rolled through the room like a wave. It wasn't just one voice mocking him. It was many feeding off each other, building in volume, drowning him in ridicule. Yet life has a way of turning. The same laughter that was meant to break him became the stage for something extraordinary. When he chose to reveal his talent, when he allowed his hidden gift to speak louder than any insult, the sound in that room changed. The laughter that once mocked him was silenced, replaced by awe. The same mouths that had curled in ridicule now hung open in amazement. The same eyes that had looked down on him now stared at him with respect. Transformation, from laughter to awe, is one of the most powerful shifts human beings can experience. It reminds us that perception is fragile, that judgment is temporary, and that true, when we think of greatness, our minds often leap to famous figures, to leaders whose names are written in history books, to icons whose faces are remembered across generations. But the truth is, greatness is not limited to the few. Extraordinary moments do not belong only to those with titles, crowns, or medals. They belong to ordinary people, to those who rise when no one expects it, to those who meet adversity with courage, to those who discover in themselves the strength to turn an ordinary day into something unforgettable. The quiet boy in that classroom was not a celebrity. He was not someone the world was watching. He was simply a student, one among many, navigating the struggles of adolescence, trying to find his place. No one looked at him and expected him to be the center of attention. No one thought that his voice, his talent, his courage would reshape the atmosphere of the entire room. And yet, in a single moment, when he stood up against humiliation, he transformed from an ordinary boy into someone extraordinary. His decision to reveal his gift elevated him from overlooked to unforgettable. This is the essence of extraordinary moments. They do not arrive with an announcement. They appear quietly, hidden in the fabric of everyday life. A mother who works late into the night to keep food on the table is creating an extraordinary moment, though she may not see it that way. A neighbor who steps in to help a stranger in need may never make the news, yet their small act can ripple outward in ways they'll never fully know. A student who finds the courage to reveal his hidden gift in the face of mockery changes not only how others see him, but also how they see themselves. What makes these moments extraordinary is not their size, but their impact. They change perceptions. They shift energy. They awaken something inside of us. The classroom ladder that had once been filled with ridicule became silence filled with awe, not because the boy was famous or powerful, but because he dared to show what he was capable of when it mattered most. History teaches us this pattern again and again. Think of Harriet Tubman, once considered an ordinary woman living in bondage. She had no position of power, no wealth, no influence, but her extraordinary courage turned her into a liberator whose actions changed countless lives. Think of Malala Yousafzai, once just a schoolgirl who wanted an education. She was an ordinary student in her village, but when her voice rose against injustice, her courage became extraordinary, echoing around the globe. The lesson is clear: the potential for greatness does not live in extraordinary people. It lives in ordinary people who face extraordinary circumstances and choose to rise. The boy in that classroom did not plan for his moment. He did not wake up that morning expecting to silence laughter with awe. But when the challenge came, when he was pushed to the edge, he chose to act. That choice created a moment that no one in that room would forget. And this is what we must carry with us, that every person we encounter carries within them the possibility of an extraordinary moment. The coworker who stays late to finish the project, the teacher who believes in a struggling student, the child who refuses to give up on their dream, all of them are capable of changing the narrative, of shifting the energy, of inspiring those around them. Ordinary people create extraordinary moments not because they are seeking glory, but because they are living with authenticity and courage. They act when it is easier to stay silent. They stand when it is easier to shrink. They give when it is easier to withhold. And in doing so, they remind us that greatness is not about where you come from or how loud your voice is. It is about what you choose to do when the moment finds you. Courage is not always loud. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is a single step forward when your knees are trembling. Sometimes it is speaking up with a voice that quivers. Sometimes it is simply refusing to back down, even when the odds seem stacked against you. The remarkable truth about courage is this: when one person dares to show it, it does not stay contained within them. It spreads. It inspires. It becomes contagious. In that classroom, when the quiet boy stood against humiliation, It was not only his dignity that was restored. His courage shifted the entire atmosphere. Every student in that room witnessed something powerful. They watched someone who had been ridiculed, someone who had every reason to retreat, instead rise and show strength through talent and grace. In that moment, the laughter that once filled the air was replaced with something different, a collective recognition that what they had just seen was bigger than the cruelty that preceded it. That is how courage works. One act can ripple outward, altering the perceptions and behaviors of everyone who witnesses it. The boy's courage did not only protect himself, it also created space for others in that classroom to see themselves differently. It planted a seed in the hearts of those watching, a reminder that they, too, carry the ability to rise when tested. We can see this principle echoed throughout history. Think of the student in Greensboro, North Carolina, who sat down at a segregated lunch counter in 1960. He did not know if anyone else would join him. He simply acted with courage. And yet, his act of defiance inspired others across the South and fueling a movement that would help reshape the course of civil rights in America. His courage was contagious. Or consider the image of a lone man standing in front of tanks at Tiananmen Square. He had no weapon, no power, no authority. Yet his courage became a symbol recognized around the world. His solitary act spoke louder than any words, inspiring millions with the truth that courage, once displayed, cannot be ignored. This same truth plays out not only on the grand stages of history, but also in our daily lives. A single employee who stands up to unfair treatment in the workplace can embolden others to speak up as well. A student who dares to challenge cruelty can inspire their peers to no longer remain silent in the face of bullying. A parent who faces hardship with resilience can model for their children what strength looks like. Courage is contagious because it reminds us of what is possible. It stirs something within us that whispers, "If they can do it, perhaps I can too." The boy in that classroom may not have known it, but his decision to reveal his hidden talent in the face of humiliation did more than silence laughter. It gave courage to others who had been quietly carrying their own fears. It reminded his classmates that strength is not about dominance or mockery, but about authenticity and perseverance. His bravery was not his alone, it became a light for others to see by. The contagion of courage is not limited by age, race, or circumstance. It is a universal truth that applies wherever human beings gather. A single spark of courage can ignite a fire in a family, a community, a nation. It can transform fear into resilience, apathy into action, silence into voice. And while the act itself may appear small in the moment, its echoes can last far longer than the fear that tried to contain it. Every one of us carries this potential. We may not see ourselves as leaders. We may not imagine our actions as influential, but the courage we show in our daily lives, to tell the truth, to do what is right, to reveal our gifts even when we risk being mocked, does not end with us. It spreads, it inspires, it becomes the beginning of change for others who are watching, waiting for a sign that they too can be brave. For too long, power has been misunderstood. Too often, people equate power with volume, with dominance, with the ability to control or intimidate. The bully in that classroom believed he was powerful. He believed that his laughter, his mockery, his ability to sway the crowd gave him control. But that was not power. That was insecurity disguised as strength. True power does not humiliate. True power does not tear down. True power uplifts, inspires, and transforms. When the quiet boy chose not to retaliate with cruelty, when he chose instead to reveal his hidden gift, he redefined power in front of everyone. The balance in that room shifted instantly. The boy who had once been underestimated now held the attention of every classmate. The bully, who had mistaken fear for strength, was exposed. Power did not belong to the loudest voice. It belonged to the one who could turn ridicule into respect without losing his dignity. This moment reveals something essential about human strength. Power is not in controlling others, it is in mastering yourself. The boy could have lashed out. He could have returned insult for insult, anger for anger. Instead, he demonstrated restraint and grace. That choice showed more strength than the bully's taunts ever could. Power is not measured by the ability to instill fear. It is measured by the ability to remain unshaken in the face of fear. History echoes this lesson. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. carried no weapons, commanded no armies, and yet his power reshaped a nation. His power was not in force but in principle, not in volume but in vision. Mother Teresa, frail in appearance, had no political title, yet her power transformed lives in the slums of Calcutta. Gandhi, through fasting and nonviolent resistance, demonstrated to the world that the greatest power is not domination but discipline. These individuals showed us that true power is moral authority, the ability to inspire trust, to awaken conscience, to move hearts. And this lesson is not confined to world leaders or historical icons. It is lived out daily in homes, workplaces, and schools. A teacher who believes in a struggling student holds more power than one who mocks them. A parent who chooses patience over anger wields greater influence than one who rules with fear. A student who stands quietly against cruelty demonstrates strength that no bully can match. The boy's moment of revelation is a reminder that we are often given opportunities to redefine power. When cruelty confronts us, we can choose to mirror it, or we can choose to transcend it. The decision to transcend does not only shift how others see us, it shifts how others understand strength itself. The classmates who once laughed now carried with them a new definition of power. One that is not loud, but authentic, not destructive, but creative. Redefining power also means dismantling the myth that only certain people are born with it. Power is not inherited like a crown. It is cultivated through character, perseverance, and authenticity. It is available to anyone willing to master themselves, to act with courage, and to stand in truth. The boy who was once seen as powerless revealed in one moment that he had been powerful all along. His power was simply hidden beneath his quiet demeanor until the moment called for it. The danger of misunderstanding power is that we risk elevating the wrong examples. When we confuse fear with respect, when we mistake cruelty for authority, we empower bullies. But when we see power for what it truly is, the ability to inspire, uplift, to reveal truth, then we shift the culture around us. We begin to value integrity over intimidation, resilience over arrogance, substance over show. In that classroom, the definition of power was rewritten before everyone's eyes. What once looked like dominance was revealed to be insecurity. What once looked like weakness was revealed to be strength. And what once was a moment of humiliation became a lesson in how real power operates, not by silencing others, but by elevating yourself through grace, courage, and authenticity. Every person at some point in life will face a moment that demands a decision: will I shrink back into silence, or will I rise? These moments rarely arrive with warning. They often come suddenly, disguised as obstacles, challenges, or humiliations. They test not only our ability but our will, and in those moments, it is not circumstance that defines us, it is choice. The quiet boy in the classroom faced such a moment. He had every reason to retreat, every reason to let the bully's words and the crowd's laughter bury him in shame. That would have been the easier path: to stay silent, to endure the humiliation, to carry it as another scar on his journey. But he made a different choice. He chose to rise, and in that single decision, he changed everything, not only for himself but for everyone who witnessed it. This is what we often forget. Rising is always a choice. We cannot always control the circumstances. We cannot stop others from mocking us, doubting us, or standing in our way. But we can control how we respond. We can decide that no matter how heavy the weight of humiliation feels, it will not keep us down. We can decide that our voice, our gift, our dignity will not be silenced. Rising is rarely comfortable. It demands courage when fear is loud. It demands action when the easier option is to remain still. It demands faith when doubt surrounds us. The boy who revealed his hidden talent did so not because the room encouraged him, but because he refused to let the room define him. That is the essence of rising. It is not dependent on applause. It is born in resistance to despair. History shows us countless examples of this principle. Nelson Mandela, standing in court, facing a system designed to silence him, chose to rise and speak his truth, even when he knew the cost. Helen Keller, trapped in silence and darkness, chose to rise by refusing to let her disabilities define her future. Malala Yousafzai, faced with violence intended to silence her voice, chose to rise by making her voice louder than ever. Each of these individuals faced moments where retreat was the safer option, but they made the harder choice. They rose. The truth is, rising is less about what others do and more about what happens within us. It is an inner declaration that says, I will not be broken by this, will not let this moment define me. It is a refusal to remain small in the face of forces that want to diminish us. And when we rise, we not only elevate ourselves, we become an example to others of what is possible. The boy in the classroom may not have set out to inspire anyone that day, but his choice did exactly that. His classmates saw courage where they expected fear. They saw strength where they assumed weakness. And in that moment, they were confronted with a truth that would stay with them. Rising is always an option, no matter the circumstance. The choice to rise is not a single moment, but a way of life. It is the daily decision to step forward when obstacles appear, speak truth when silence is easier, to stand tall when others expect you to bend. Rising does not mean you will not feel fear. It means you move forward anyway. Rising does not mean you will not face setbacks. It means you refuse to let setbacks define you. Every one of us has moments where the world seems intent on pushing us down. In those moments, we are given an invitation, not to prove ourselves to the doubters, but to prove to ourselves that we are more resilient than we imagined. The boy in that classroom accepted that invitation, and when he chose to rise, he transformed not only his own experience, but the perspective of everyone watching. Every barrier in life begins in the mind. It is not the wall in front of us that holds us back, but the voice within us that whispers, "You cannot climb it." It is not the weight of the challenge that defeats us, but the belief that we are too weak to carry it. And yet, when belief shifts, when even the smallest seed of conviction takes root in the heart, those barriers begin to crumble. Belief, more than anything else, is the force that breaks limitations wide open. The quiet boy in the classroom understood this truth, whether consciously or instinctively. When faced with mockery, he could have believed the bully's words. He could have accepted the narrative that he was powerless, unworthy, or invisible. If he had believed those lies, he would have remained silent, shoulders slumped, carrying shame as though it were fact. But belief gave him another path. He chose to believe in his gift, in the worth of his voice, in the possibility that his hidden talent had power. That belief pushed him past fear and into action. It is belief that transforms impossibility into reality. The Wright brothers believed man could fly when the entire world dismissed the idea as fantasy. Rosa Parks believed in her dignity when the law declared otherwise. A young Steve Jobs believed that a computer could belong in every home long before technology made it seem feasible. Again and again, history reminds us that barriers fall not because they are weak, but because belief is strong. Belief is not blind optimism. It is not pretending challenges don't exist. It is looking directly at the barrier and deciding that it will not have the final say. It is standing in the middle of doubt and declaring, "I will not be stopped." The boy in that classroom knew the odds. He knew the ladder was loud, the cruelty sharp, the crowd ready to side with the bully. But he believed in something greater than their mockery. He believed in the truth of his talent, and that belief gave him the strength to reveal it. There is something contagious about belief. Just as courage spreads from one heart to another, so too does conviction. When the boy revealed his hidden ability, his classmates saw what belief in oneself could accomplish. Their laughter dissolved into silence, their doubt shifted into awe. They witnessed firsthand that belief is stronger than humiliation, that the human spirit is more powerful than mockery. In that moment, the barrier that had kept them blind to his worth was shattered. Belief does more than break external barriers. It breaks internal ones. The greatest limitations are often the ones we place upon ourselves. How many dreams have gone unrealized not because they were impossible, but because someone believed they were? How many voices remain unheard not because they lack beauty, but because their owners believe no one will listen? The boy could have stayed bound by that inner barrier, believing he was destined to remain unseen. But he chose differently. He chose to believe in his own possibility, and that choice changed the entire story. What is extraordinary is that belief requires no permission. It does not wait for validation, applause, or consensus. It is a personal decision born within that says, "I will move forward." The world may laugh, critics may jeer, obstacles may rise, but belief does not bow to them. Belief breaks through, step by step, moment by moment, until the impossible becomes inevitable. We see this not only in great moments of history, but in everyday lives. The single mother who believes her children deserve a better future works double shifts to make it possible. The student who believes he can rise above his circumstances studies late into the night, driven not by ease but by conviction. The entrepreneur who believes in her vision persists through failure after failure until success finally comes. These stories remind us that belief is the common denominator of all progress. The classroom scene is one of countless examples where belief breaks barriers. A boy once dismissed as weak revealed himself as strong. A voice once silenced by laughter rose above it with dignity. A gift once hidden broke free and stunned everyone. That transformation did not begin with talent alone, it began with belief. Belief that his worth was greater than ridicule, that his voice was stronger than silence, and that his potential could not be buried beneath mockery. In every classroom, every workplace, every community, there is a tapestry of differences. Different backgrounds, different skin colors, different talents, different struggles. Too often, differences are used as walls to divide, rather than as threads to weave something greater. Yet history, and moments like the one in that classroom, remind us that true strength emerges not when we are the same, but when we learn to value the richness of our diversity. The quiet boy was different. He did not fit the mold of the loudest voices in the room. He carried his silence like armor, observing rather than seeking attention. The bully tried to weaponize that difference, turning it into something shameful, a target for laughter. But when the boy revealed his hidden talent, everything shifted. What once was mocked as weakness became celebrated as uniqueness. The same difference that made him vulnerable to ridicule became the very quality that stunned his classmates into admiration. This is the paradox of diversity. What makes us different is also what makes us indispensable. Every community, every group, every nation is made stronger not by erasing differences, but by honoring them. The boy's gift did not diminish the talents of others in the room. It expanded what was possible. His courage gave others permission to see that diversity is not a burden, but a source of collective power. We see this truth reflected across the story of humanity. The civil rights movement in America was not fueled by one voice alone, but by a chorus of voices, each bringing different perspectives, talents, and sacrifices. The advancements of science, art, and culture have never been the work of uniformity. They have been born of the creativity that arises when minds shaped by different experiences come together. Jazz, for example, emerged as a uniquely American art form precisely because it was a fusion of diverse cultural influences. African rhythms, European harmonies, and improvisational genius woven into something the world had never heard before. Unity in diversity does not mean sameness. It does not mean we must agree on every detail or erase our distinctions. It means recognizing that those distinctions are not threats, but gifts. The boys' classmates saw that day that the strength of their class was not in conformity but in allowing each voice to shine. Where once there was division between bully and victim, noise and silence, mockery and shame, emerged a recognition that every student carried something of value. Diversity also teaches us empathy. When we encounter someone different from ourselves, we are invited to step outside our narrow view of the world and expand our understanding. The classroom witnessed this expansion in real time. Students who had laughed at the boy moments earlier now found themselves reflecting, perhaps even ashamed, at how quickly they had judged him. His difference challenged them to rethink their assumptions, to recognize the danger of reducing someone to a single label. The beauty of unity in diversity is that it creates space for everyone to contribute. It acknowledges that the quiet have wisdom, the marginalized have strength, and the overlooked have gifts waiting to be revealed. It reminds us that no single perspective can build a complete picture, but together, our differences create a mosaic far more powerful than any individual piece. The boy's talent was not simply a personal triumph, it was a collective lesson. His classmates saw that day that they were not just a collection of individuals competing for attention, but a community with untapped potential. Each difference among them, the shy, the outspoken, the artistic, the analytical, had the power to elevate the whole if only they were willing to embrace it. When communities, classrooms, or nations fail to embrace diversity, they lose more than inclusion. They lose innovation, empathy, and strength. But when we lean into diversity with unity, when we allow differences to sit side by side and complement rather than compete, we unlock possibilities far greater than what sameness could ever achieve. In that moment of silence after the boy revealed his hidden gift, unity was born. Not because everyone became the same, but because they recognized the power of what made them different. The very fabric of that classroom was rewoven, no longer defined by ridicule and division, but by a newfound respect for the strength that comes when diversity is not just tolerated, but celebrated. Every generation inherits not only the world as it is, but the responsibility to imagine what it can become. The future is not some distant horizon waiting passively for us. It is shaped by the choices we make in the present, by the courage we summon, the dreams we refuse to abandon. To reimagine the future is to refuse to accept the limitations handed to us and to declare that something better, something brighter, is possible. In that classroom, the students caught a glimpse of what a reimagined future might look like. Before the boy revealed his hidden talent, the room reflected a familiar pattern. Power was in the hands of the loudest. Cruelty, passed as entertainment, was mistaken for weakness. That pattern is not confined to a single classroom. It echoes across societies, where division, prejudice, and inequality too often dominate. But when the boy chose to reveal his gift, everything shifted. A new possibility was revealed, a future where strength is measured not by ridicule but by resilience, where talent silences cruelty, and where dignity cannot be erased by laughter. This moment was more than a personal victory. It was a blueprint for what the future can be when individuals choose courage over fear, belief over doubt, unity over division. The boy's classmates left with more than the memory of his performance. They carried with them the realization that the world they had taken for granted could be different. That realization is the seed of transformation, for all lasting change begins with the imagination to see beyond what is. A reimagined future does not mean erasing challenges. It means facing them with new eyes. It means looking at barriers and asking not, "Why is this here?" but what can we build instead? It means teaching our children not only to dream, but to believe their dreams have power. It means cultivating spaces, in classrooms, in communities, where difference is not mocked, but honored, where silence is not dismissed, but respected, and where hidden gifts are given the chance to shine. History itself is the story of futures reimagined. The abolition of slavery, once thought impossible, was imagined and then made real by those who refused to accept chains as destiny. The right for women to vote was once unthinkable until brave voices reimagined the role of women in society and fought to bring it forth. The technological world we live in today, where voices travel across continents in seconds, was once a dream in the minds of visionaries who believed the future could look different. Every leap humanity has made began with someone daring to reimagine. The classroom moment becomes a microcosm of this truth. When the boy redefined his place before his peers, he did not just alter how they saw him, he altered how they might see each other. They were invited to imagine a world where no one is dismissed because of quietness, where no one is ridiculed because of difference, where no one is silenced because of fear. That vision may seem small, but every great change begins in a single room, in a single heart, in a single act of courage. To reimagine the future is to recognize that we are not prisoners of the present. Circumstances may be difficult, voices of doubt may be loud, systems of injustice may appear immovable. But history has proven that all of these can be transformed when ordinary people choose to envision something greater. The boy's classmates learned that day that futures can be rewritten in an instant, that assumptions can collapse, that laughter can turn into awe. If such transformation is possible in a single classroom, then it is possible in a community, in a nation, in the world. The responsibility falls to us, as it did to those students, carry the vision forward. To see not only the flaws of the today, but the possibilities of tomorrow. To believe that a reimagined future is not a fantasy, but a calling. And to act not only for ourselves, but for those who will come after us, who will inherit the world we dare to create. That classroom on that ordinary day became more than a place of lessons. It became a mirror, reflecting not only the cruelty that can arise when we use our differences to divide, but also the brilliance that shines when courage, belief, and unity take hold. One boy, once underestimated, taught an entire room that strength is not in humiliation, but in resilience, not in dominance, but in dignity. What his classmates witnessed was more than talent. They witnessed transformation. They saw how belief breaks barriers, how courage is contagious, how true power is redefined not by the loudest voice, but by the most authentic heart. They saw that diversity is not weakness but strength, and that when we honor it, we create a future none of us could build alone. And so the story of one quiet boy is not just his story. It is ours. It reminds us that each of us carries within us a hidden gift, a strength waiting for its moment. It reminds us that in the face of doubt, we can rise, in the face of cruelty, we can stand, and in the face of division, we can build unity. It reminds us that the future is not fixed, but reimagined by those brave enough to believe in it. If a single act of courage in a single classroom can silence ridicule and awaken respect, imagine what countless acts of courage across communities and nations could do for our world. The choice is before us, to remain silent in the face of fear or to rise, believe, and create a future worthy of all of us.